Hi, Snowflake Junior High. This is Mrs. Flake. This week we are going to be talking about emotional or verbal bullying. The reason I'm talking about this is because I had this happen to me in high school. I was a freshman, and in my high school, the freshman hall had a glass wall that looked into the cafeteria. And I was sitting there with my friends one day during lunchtime, and I happened to look into the cafeteria, and this girl flipped a birdie. And I was like, whoa, wonder what that was. And I didn't know her, so I didn't think it was at me, and I ignored it. Anyway, later on, I looked back over and she flipped me off again. And I thought, what in the heck is going on? This can't be happening to me because I don't know her, and so she's doing this to somebody else. Well, the bell rang to go to class, and I left the freshman hall and went walking down the hallway to my next class. And this senior girl passed me, and as she passed me, she called me a foul name. And I was shocked. I had never been called that before in my life, and I didn't know what to do. Again, me and my innocence decided that it wasn't me she was talking to. She couldn't be talking to me. So I ignored it. And for the next couple of weeks, she verbally tormented me. Every time she saw me, she would call me names or she would flip me off. And it got to the point where I was so scared of her that my stomach would tighten up into a ball, and I felt nauseated, and I started almost not being able to go to school. I decided to tell an adult, and I told our school counselor, and the school counselor solved it by saying, yeah, she scares me too, and that was the end of it. Obviously, that didn't help. So it kept going on and on. Every time she saw me, she would call me foul names or she would flip me off. And I got to the point where I couldn't go to school anymore because I was so traumatized and terrorized by her. My parents found out what was going on, and they took me to therapy. And the therapist sat me down and talked to me and said, what can you do? Because I had lost all control here. I was no longer in control of my feelings. She dictated my feelings. And so the therapist had this conversation with me about what I could do and what would happen. And he said, what would happen if this girl physically attacked you in the hallway? And of course, me being me, I was like, well, she's gonna kick my butt. And he said, okay, what are your friends gonna do? And I said, they'll probably run for help. And he said, okay, so here she is beating you up. Are you gonna take it? And I said, I don't know. And he said, no, you're gonna hit her back. You're gonna fight. You're gonna protect yourself. And by that time then, hopefully your friends have found a teacher and they can bring that teacher in and get this solved. Can you hang on for 2 minutes while your friends go get a teacher? And I said, okay, I think I can do it. And he had me replay this over and over and over in my brain until my worst case scenario I had already gone through. And then eventually I made it back to school. When I made it back to school, then I was able to cope with her bullying, her emotional and verbal bullying, because I had envisioned what the worst thing she could do to me, and I survived. And that's not the way that this should happen. Interestingly enough, she graduated from high school and I went on, and I had a job later on as a junior or senior, I can't remember which year it was, and she showed up in my checking line, and I saw her and I got that exact same knot in my stomach, nauseated, wanting to throw up, because there she was again in my life. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what bullying does. It terrorizes, it traumatizes. Nobody should have to go through that. If you are not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. Do not bully.